Welcome. We would like to thank you for joining us at our March webinar. Many of you know that in February, we focused on teacher education in the United States, and now we are broadening it to look at education internationally. The Forum for World Education is focused on providing opportunities to bring educators, education policy people, and the business community together so that together we can focus on and transform the education offered to our young people. They are going to live in a very different world than we have, those of us who are older, and we want to be sure that the education systems that we offer to them are going to ensure that they have the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind to succeed in this new environment. So we are joined today by our moderator, Seng from Singapore, by Sarah Gravett from the University of Johannesburg, from Professor Xuan Zhang from Shanghai Normal University, and Arjun Ishiranaza from Rwanda, who is one of our young leaders who is in the education area in the provision of innovative strategies to teach science. So we are hoping that we will be joined as well by Nilza de Costa from Portugal, who will share her insights. Professor Christoph Meinhof is joining us by tape so that we can hear what his institute is doing in Germany. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Seng to introduce our first speaker.
Hello. Very good morning, very good afternoon, very good evening to everyone. Every time we see educators coming together, my heart is just filled with joy because educators play such an important role in this world. I think we all know that when it comes to education, it is well concluded from research and from many, many findings that the most critical factor of the educational system is really the teachers. And especially during this past 1 year, when many of us experienced COVID, you realize that teachers all over the world, every city, they rose up to the occasion and plug in the many, many gaps that systems in itself could not have done, especially to the most vulnerable students. So I think that the importance of teachers, the symbolism of teachers, and how we could continue to empower and prepare teachers in this very complex world is such an important topic. And today we are joined by very, very distinguished speakers at this panel, as Susan has introduced. And if you look into all their bios, there's something in common. If you look across every one of them have the experience in teaching across the sector. And you find that every one of them have a soft spot for those who need learning most. You will find in everyone's CV there, either they have at some point worked in rural communities or done some research to reach out to where education is needed most, the most vulnerable communities, right? So we are going to have a very exciting forum this evening. The format we will do is to have each one speak about 7 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to have open to questions, and I'll raise some questions to the speakers, either as individual or as a group. And we will continue the conversation to enlighten this very, very important point on how do we innovate the teacher education, not just in terms of teacher preparation, but teacher education who are in service, right? In this day and age, right? So that they can be better empowered to bring education to the children and the world. So we're going to start with, maybe I should just do a very quick intros of each of these very distinguished people, because I also happen to meet them. Education is such a small world, and people who have the same heart, they will meet each other across sometime, right? Yeah. So in fact, I met Sarah in Johannesburg, where she was the Dean of Education at the University of Johannesburg, doing fantastic work there in a very challenging environment, and continuing to do so. And we will also hear from Zhang Xuan. Xuan is very well known as the pizza face of China. and from the early years, Xuan actually was very, very generous in sharing some of the best practices, and we had lots of exchange of how we could mentor, improve education for Asian and worldwide. And the Asian Society have conferred Xuan 2 very distinguished awards, right? And of course, we will also have Professor Christopher Mina. He is not able to join us, but has very kindly pre-recorded what he wants to share with us, so we'll be able to watch it through video. And Christopher Mina is the president of the Hasso Plattner Institute, and previously he was the dean of the digital engineering faculty, responsible for some of the most innovative digital engineering. And he, in fact, worked very closely with Stanford University in the idea of design thinking. So a very, very innovative person whom we will be able to hear from. And of course, Niza Costa from Aveiro University in Portugal, who has extensive experience. We hope she can lock in time to join us later on. And this is also a very special panel, thanks to FWE, and bringing together this very innovative community of experts as well as young leaders. So we are very privileged to have Origin, who is the CEO of O Genius Priority, a very young entrepreneur with brilliant mind, to join us. Especially when you have people like me who are in our 60s, and we have our shared partner with young minds. We are delighted, and he's going to be the one who will close and give his reflection for this whole panel, because after all, his generation is the one who's going to bring humanity forward. So it's my great pleasure now to start with Sarah. Sarah, please share with us some of your ideas and thoughts on this topic on innovating global practices in teacher education. Sarah, please.
Thank you very much. So what I will share with you is some of the Faculty of Education's work at the University of Johannesburg on preparing pre-service teachers for a rapidly changing world and uncertain future. Now, ironically, the relevance of this work has been confirmed by the pandemic, most unexpectedly. So the question that we have been grappling with is how to prepare pre-service teachers for the current local context, which is challenging in South Africa, with high levels of poverty and adverse circumstances in the majority of schools, and simultaneously prepare them for the future. The notion of the fourth industrial revolution and its implications is widely touted in South Africa. Whether one agrees or disagrees with Klaus Schwab about the fourth industrial revolution term, it is indisputable that the exponential pace of technology developments is resulting in a future that is uncertain and complex and fast changing. So we are also asked how prospective teachers are prepared for the fourth industrial revolution's ramifications. So much is asked of teacher education. And more recently, during the COVID-19 situation, we as teacher educators are compelled to grapple with the consequences of the lessons learned about education in a time of volatility and uncertainty. So how have we been responding at the Faculty of Education at the University of Johannesburg? We have been considering this for a while already. What are the knowledges and literacies and competencies that student teachers need to prepare them for their lives as teachers? In the light of this, digital literacy and teaching with digital technology have been part and parcel of our teacher education programs. However, the pandemic has taught us that more of this is needed. Now, today I focus on more recent initiatives, and I note 2 initiatives briefly and then zoom in on the third one. We are experimenting with and researching the inclusion of coding and robotics in teacher education, not necessarily only on how to teach coding and robotics, but how coding and robotics could be used as teaching tools. We chose to focus on the coding language Scratch due to its strong emphasis on developing creative thinking, which we view as indispensable in a fast-changing world. And here I must acknowledge, in particular, the enthusiasm and creativity of my colleague, Linford Molawodi. The third initiative that I am going to talk more about is about lesson design. And I can talk with confidence about this because I lead the ongoing research on it. Last year, we piloted and experimented with a new course in the 4th and final year of the Bachelor of Education in Primary School Teaching. Though the course was conceptualized prior to COVID-19, it is aligned with a sentiment expressed by Daniel Willingham and Benjamin Riley last year in an article in the Washington Post. They said, "If this pandemic has taught us anything, it's that the future is unpredictable. Teacher education should therefore embrace what will not change, namely the science of learning." So the course that we piloted last year involved guiding student teachers to design lessons informed by principles derived from the literature on the science of learning, while also infusing competencies for a changing world in lesson design. The latter draws mainly on the work of the Center for Curriculum Redesign in Boston. So I mentioned some of the principles that we articulated as an example. One is our working memory is limited. Another one, learning requires cognitive engagement, which is supported through moderate challenge that elicits interest. Another one, emotion and cognition are intertwined. And also transfer of learning does not happen automatically. And there are more. And the competencies that we focused on mainly were the 4 C's: creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication. So this year we are implementing and researching the second iteration of the course. So the course was presented in 2020 remotely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We monitored the implementation of the course. We also analyzed the lessons that the student teachers designed and interviewed some of them about the lessons and also about their experience of a full course. And some of our initial insights are the following. Firstly, the student teachers reported that they found the lesson design approach relevant to what they would need to succeed as teachers when entering the teaching profession in 2021 and in the future. And they expressed confidence, a sense of confidence stemming from the understanding that they acquired of how learning occurs and how to use this understanding to guide and support learning in classrooms and, importantly, also virtually. Student teachers also reported gaining knowledge of how learning can be optimized through the purposeful application of competencies such as critical thinking and creativity. They realized that the lesson design approach prompted them to think deeply about how the teaching of these competencies should be embedded in teaching the learning content. Now, requiring pre-service teachers to design lessons that aim to develop the 4 C's and metacognitive awareness meant that they also had to employ these competencies, and the student teachers seemed to note the value of this. They said, for example, teachers must communicate clearly. They must be able to facilitate classroom conversation in a lesson to focus learner attention and elicit cognitive engagement. They must be able to communicate feedback effectively to learners to affirm or redirect learning. They also said that the lesson design process necessitated critical thinking. For example, When faced with the decision of how and why to teach the content of a lesson in a particular way, they had to think critically about the choice of content and teaching techniques or tools in relation to the aim and objectives of the lesson, the competencies to be developed, and the learning principles invoked. They also had to think creatively about how to infuse the competencies in a lesson. So what is our assessment of the course that we piloted in 2020? In general, the lessons showed cohesion and thoughtful design. That was really pleasing. Student teachers said that infusing the principles in lesson design helped them to think carefully about how children learn and how to support their learning best. This was evident in the lessons, and that again was also very pleasing. We believe that how the student teachers made sense of and implemented the lesson design approach cannot be separated from the way the course was presented. Having had to offer the course fully online, after having planned it as a contact course, initially filled the two teacher educators who taught the course, Renee Lang and Dean van der Merwe, with trepidation. They were concerned that the lack of contact teaching would result in detached students and surface learning. They tried to counteract this by invoking the same principles and competencies that we required students to use in lesson design in designing and implementing the course in an online environment. The course implementation involved prompting active cognitive engagement and clear communication through discussion boards, group chats, and online group sessions to elicit critical thinking and metacognition. The principles that transfer of learning does not happen automatically and that proficiency requires practice guided Dean and Renee to create continuous opportunities for students to purposefully practice core skills coupled with guided reflection and formative feedback. During small group practice and reflection sessions, student teachers discussed the lessons they designed with their peers, and they gave each other feedback. So they experienced critical thinking, productive communication, and collaboration in action. The course presenters also tried to model the learning principle that cognition and emotion are intertwined by creating a safe, empathetic, and respectful, yet challenging learning environment. This seemed to have paid off. The limitation of the course and our research induced by the pandemic is that it was impossible to observe the students teaching the lessons they designed in actual classrooms. Thus, we do not know how they would fare in teaching the lessons that they designed. This will be a focus of the research as we advance. We also plan to follow a sample of the graduates when they enter the teaching profession to explore to what extent the course learnings endure in practice. Now, I truly believe that any crisis is a gift, and the pandemic's gift to us as teacher educators was that we were inspired to think deeply and creatively about how to invoke the principles derived from the science of learning literature and competencies for a changing world in an online environment with our student teachers. So going forward, beyond COVID-19 lockdowns, we will all offer the course fully blended, combining the best affordances of online and contact teaching. We want to maintain the format that we used online. That enables for enacting and rehearsing coursework learnings. This will be facilitated by analyzing examples, scenarios, vignettes, case studies, role-playing, and rehearsing of teaching practices. So I thank you for providing me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was really excellent. True to the spirit of what I saw at the University of Johannesburg faculty when I visited them in 2018, everything that they do, is underpinned by a research mindset. And it's impressive how even during this COVID period, when you innovate your program, you actually had the opportunity to also do some form of evaluation. This is really fantastic. Yeah, we will ask you more questions afterwards. And we are very delighted to have Nelza Costa to be able to join us. Professor Nelza Costa, you will have about 7 to 10 minutes to share some of your ideas pertaining to innovative global practices in teacher education. And we look forward to hear from your context what are some of your ideas. So Nilza, are you able to switch on? Yeah. Nilza, we see you in here. Are you able to share your screen? Are you able to share? So we see your screen, Elza. Can you turn on your voice?
There we go.
Wonderful. Turn on your voice. Yeah, great. Okay.
Okay, so let's start. I will try to follow the time, but I'd like just to tell you that it's an honor for me to be here, and thanks to three persons for helping me being here. Also to say that I have a journey of almost 40 years, mainly in Portugal, my country, but also across Europe and other Portuguese-speaking countries like Brazil, Angola, and so on. And from this journey, I learned many lessons, and I have some options which I would like to share to you with you today. Obviously, it was not easy to synthesize what I would like to say in 10 minutes, and now I know that it's 7, but let's start, and thank you again. One thing I've learned very quickly, it's that education is really important, namely in formal education. But what kind and I learned this, for example, from Nelson Mandela, which says that education is the most important weapon to change the world, but also, and I add, Paulo Freire, a Brazilian pedagogist, which says that education doesn't change the world, but it can change people, and people can change the world. What I have learned also is that in order to achieve these goals, it is required well-prepared teachers and teachers' education. And now at COVID, we saw it very clearly. But what does it mean? What kind of education do you want? What kind of teachers and teachers' education you want? Another thing I have learned is that nowadays, education and formation within national borders are subject to increased international influence, contributing to the formulation of national policies. And also, obviously, that research is also very important. And research has been said that we arguing that we should not follow simplistic models of teacher and teacher educators professionalism development. Teachers are not appliers, are not technical of national institutional curriculum, and demands more complex one, reflective, flexible, critical. And if teachers will not be flexible and teachers educators, how could we survive in COVID? From my portfolio, I have some examples of this international influence in teacher education and teacher formation, like the document from the European Commission 2005, the Tuning Project, and also Campus Europaea. Campus Europaea, Professor Wilfred was the leading of our group. We learn what is and how can one become an European teacher and a teacher educator. So I learned very quickly that we learn a lot with the others, but we need to think critically and we need to think globally, but act locally. Just an example, initial teachers education and Bologna process. In Portugal, since 2007, all teachers education, initial teacher education program are at master levels. We also introduced in recent years new courses like education for sustainability, education and diversity, digital education. However, I was coordinator of a project in Moldova, Republic of Moldova, which is the poorest country in Europe from 2010 to 2014. And actually we saw that, and they really wanted to apply the Bologna model, not the process, but they, and I discussed with the Minister of Education, and we just conclude that it was not possible in Moldova to qualify teachers as at the master level because of economical reasons. Going back to these international regulations, I was very keen with this UNESCO decade of sustainability and also the Agenda 2030. And since then, since 2000, I start thinking that educating for sustainability, for a sustainable future would be a thing to invest. And this means, and here education is not only transmit knowledge, obviously, but also to develop skills, values, and attitudes. From educational research, I also learned that educational research should have a social impact. It has value, but it should contribute to the development of societies. One example is that the Agenda 2030 was signed in 2015 by 190 countries. But however, much less than expected have been achieved. Why is that? My interpretation is that this agenda were signed by politicians, but the communities, namely educational researchers, teachers education, were not sufficiently committed with these agendas, even if it is in a critical point of view. So my options at the moment I am involved, I'm almost 65. I am involved in two projects. One, Schools Educating for Sustainability, financed by Europe, which involves 5 countries and school centers. And our main aim is to learn together with researchers from different countries and from the teachers how to educate for sustainability. The other one it started just 2020, and it is a national project which is developed in partnership between our university, school, and an association, a community association. And what we really want is to learn from school practice. School practice, we will contextualize the curriculum, the national curriculum. So I'm ending. This project sees teachers' education in the frame of international agendas, but with a national local contextualization. As a formative endeavor within lifelong scenarios, initial teacher education is just the start, where teachers are knowledge producers and should work collaboratively, should prepare teachers to promote citizens aware, committed, and critical with social environment, economics problems, and who think globally and act locally, and as a vehicle of professional and academic knowledge with social impact. So I'm sure I will continue to learn. I have a lot to learn, and I will certainly learn also within this forum. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for the wonderful sharing with so much experience. We certainly have many questions for you. It's amazing how you are involved in so many critical initiatives, especially on sustainability and so on. And we're going to come back to you for you to say more. So now I want to move to Tang Ming Xuan. Ming Xuan, please.
All right, thank you very much for the invitation. First, let me thank you especially for Susan and Tang. And I mean, it's really my honor to have such a kind of chances, the real chances to contact with the scholars, educators in the world. And today I want to say a few words about the Shanghai's policy, because I considered, although we are still in the process of the COVID-19 pandemic, we need a lot of innovations and initiatives. But in fact, in the history, we meet a lot of problems and we overcome them. So I think we still should have some stable, effective, and efficient policies. So I will introduce some Shanghai's policies with you, share the policies with you. Maybe I can use my screen. I think, how can I use that?
Turn on your share screen.
Yes, share screen. I want to use that, but
Christopher, can you help Ming Xuan to be able to share screen, please? Sorry, David. David, can you please help?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Can you find that?
Yes, yes, we can see it now. Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes, we can see the screen. Yes.
Okay.
We can see the slides.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good. Good. Just a few words. I want to say successful innovations and policies, the new teachers' professional development challenges in Shanghai also. So I think, very, very briefly speaking, the policy, why we have the policies and successful, did very successful in the PISA, TELUS, and also in the COVID-19. Because I think in Shanghai, the first and most important factor is we have a highly professional civil servants team in Shanghai education. So when I worked in the government, I found all the people, I mean, the heads, from the vice mayor for education to every bureau directors, they are from education. For example, the vice mayor now is a professor of chemistry from East China Normal University, and before that, he was the university president, the dean of the schools, and also all the people, all the educational leaders, they come from the teachers and the school principals. So they are very professional, and they will notice and estimate and respect the initiatives and the challenges and the needs from the school teachers. I think this is very important. And they have a very rich experiences, and in their personal history, they have the teaching, administration, so, and also they are selected and promoted by step. So this is very important. The second very stable attitude is in Shanghai is active attitude to open up and learn from the world. So whatever we meet, the problems and challenges, we will try to look at the world, try to find experiences in the world, and also try to learn from the world. So a lot of academic terms and jargons In these days, we use that just like STEM, the deeper learning, project learning, 21st century skills. In the COVID-19 pandemic, the blended teaching and learn, those kind of things, testing knowledge. It is those things are very, very popular in Shanghai. And because of that, because we want to learn from the world, so we joined the PISA, TELUS, and TELUS video studies. Through that, through those kind of activities, we want to learn from the world. And also we try to find the challenges we face on challenges and the problems in the future we will meet. So this is second. Of course, today we will talk about teachers. So I think the teachers are most important factors no matter when. Therefore, Shanghai in the last 40 years, also we carried out a policy we call the triangle system for in-service teachers' professional development. So the teachers are not only to have the pre-service training as a high education educators, or say they have the experiences and the learning, and they know whatever to teach and how to teach. And in this system, all the teachers, more than 200,000 teachers in Shanghai involved and engaged the teachers' professional development. So their motivations are encouraged, their needs are concerned about. So all the schools and district bureaus of education also actively supported them. These kind of things are by law. So we can see this is triangle. Career ladders. Some countries, they have teachers have career ladders, but some countries they have no. And some countries they have a performance evaluation, but some countries they have no. And some countries they have the in-service training, but the teachers have to pay by themselves. But in China, in Shanghai especially, the three parts, career ladders, I mean there are career promotions and performance evaluations and their social awards, rewards, and in service trainings are get together. And most of our service in training, most of the in-service training are free for them. The government give the money, the schools give the time, and the society will pay attention to them. So these three are interrelated parts: career ladders, in-service training, and evaluation, performance evaluation, and the rewards. Also, this kind of triangle system is designed by two bases. The first basis, the teacher's needs and demands of their life, their personal development, their achievements, and the social respects are paid much attention for them. So they have the motivation to join that. I think it's just to meet the Maslow's needs theory, right? On the other hand, the government should pay much attention and designed very refined, fair system for teachers' education. So a teacher's professional development, not only to pre-service, but also in service training. So for example, the ladders from 1980s, Shanghai tried to establish. Now the whole country used that. We have the teachers' professional rank system with a junior ladder, middle ladder, senior ladder. From 1980s to the new century, we established that. And then in the 2002, we found the school principals, I mean school heads, school head teachers, their responsibilities, their capabilities are a little bit different from the teachers. So we designed, especially for school principals professional rank system, also with middle ladder, a middle grade and a senior grade, because usually the junior teachers, they cannot come in to be the school principals. So when they are become the principals, at least they are in the middle level. I mean, middle level even in their lifetime. Besides that, in Shanghai, we have a special title for mastery teachers and school principals called special grade teachers. Just like in Singapore, you have the mastery teachers. We have the special grade teachers. I think it's the same. It's a kind of, the social word and also the special social title with glories or something like that, praised by the countries, by the society. Beside that, in the 2014, Shanghai set up the rank of the professorship grade teachers and also the school principals. Now in Shanghai, we have more than 400 professorship grade teachers and principals. So those kind of school principals and the teachers, they are not very skillful, not only very skillful in their teaching and school management, because, and also they can train, they can help the universities and the government to train the other school teachers. They can have their knowledge, educational knowledge, and even to write the papers and the books. So in this way, the educational knowledge are collected. So these are the letters. Usually every 5 years, the teachers can come to another step, but not all the teachers will come directly. Some people will spend 10 years or 8 years from the junior to middle, and then to middle to the senior. So most of the teachers, before their retirement, they will become the senior grade teachers, but only few become the special grade teachers or say mastery teachers. Of course, very, very few people will become the professors. I think in this way, all the teachers are involved and engaged. All people want to realize their personal, objectives socially. And also in those kind of rank system, encourage society to pay respect for the teachers. So in the recent years, more and more young people will come to the teachers, come to teacher profession. Shanghai is a very old city. We have very many senior retired citizens. I think it's an aging society with more than 25 people over 60, even over 65. But our teachers' average age is still very young, only 38, because those kind of ranking system encourage all people try to enjoy and realize some of their dreams in their life. Of course, if you want to become a good teacher, top teachers and senior teachers, you have to learn in their in-service training. So by in-service training, you can have the professional learning. So in this way, all teachers can learn a lot and change their behavior and have their lot of innovations they are in teaching. So in-service training is a benefit for all teachers by law. So in TELUS, they show that 99% of the Shanghai teachers joined 62 days in service training in the last 12 months, so in a year. So it is the top of in the world for the days of the teachers enjoying the in-service training. And then the training programs are designed in various kinds for various demands for different teachers. They have different channels, different topics. For example, in the COVID-19, ICT education and the tools are trained a lot. Those kind of things are new. Then we have Shanghai set up a credit bank for collecting teachers training, even their research, achievements. Of course, evaluation is very important. So how to help them? So we have a lot of performance evaluation in their daily life, especially in the every semester we have that. And also we have a lot of shows, contests and collective competitions. So those kind of things are very, very popular. So we even have the contest for how to teach and how to design their homework, how to use the ICT programs. So in this way, also all the people can solve their problems and learn from each other. So those kind of functions is encouraged to refining on and perfecting teachers' skills in everywhere, in every fields, every aspects, and can record their achievements for their promotion, and then in this way we have a better teachers, so we have a better school and a better education for all. Of course, for our new challenges, we have at least 4. Before that, Shanghai tried to let every child have equal chances to access school, but now to provide a good school for every child. The second is, usually we try to pay attention to improve the teaching condition. Now try to get to the balance between understanding of the learning and the bettering conditions of the teaching. Then the third is, in the older ways, usually the teacher used face-to-face teaching. Now balance not only face-to-face teaching, but also to blended teaching and learning. The fourth, traditionally, China pay much attention on knowledge mastery, but now we concern both about social emotional support and knowledge mastery, and also creative application. So these are the challenges we face. We try to change. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ming-Shen. That was fantastic.
And also, I think we can share with the other countries, because now Shanghai, we got the UNESCO Teacher Education Center. I chaired about that. I chair that institute. So it's a new work for me, new task for me. I would like to share with the experience with the other parts of the world. Thank you.
I think the UNESCO platform will be an excellent platform to share some of these wonderful things that you have done. I think the triangle that you have shown on how to encourage the teacher learning, the teacher growth, and the recognition is really a very beautiful model. Right. Yeah. So I'm going to come back to you for a question later on. But now let's move on to hear from our German contributor, Professor Minier. He's not here, but he has pre-recorded his video. So I'm going to ask David to please play the video of Professor Christopher Minier.
Now I want to share some ideas about most effective practice to address teacher training. Of course, the needs of modern training methods is it should be interactive, it should be communicative, it should use digital technology, it should be accessible by everyone, it should be accessible from everywhere, and usable with any kind of device. Of course, the quality should be high quality, it should be sustainable and scalable, and it should fit into the different schedules of the teacher, so it needs to be flexible and adaptable to different schedules, and of course verifiable with regard to the content. I already mentioned that we in Hasso-Plattner Institute and I personally are involved in different platform developments for digital training. So we started in 2012 to develop the first European MOOC platform, Method for Open Online Courses. This is our openhpi.de platform, where we provide online courses on digital literacy. We do this not only for our students, we do this for the public, for the interested public, because we see that a lot of people are confronted with these digital technologies and do not have a good insight into the technique behind. The platform is really rather popular. There are almost 1 million enrollments for our different courses, about 200,000 certificates we could issue over the last years, and content and trainings are free and open for everyone who is interested, and they are provided by the professors and teachers from HPI. This is a short how it looks like, the user interface of OpenHPI. Then partners came. For example, the World Health Organization said we need something similar to educate our people about public health topics. And of course, during the Corona crisis, there was a real strong need for such kind of information and trainings. So originally we start partnership with World Health Organization in 2017. There was an Ebola crisis in Africa. And then it was relatively small, but when Corona came, the number of registered users was exploded, and just last week the 5 million boundary, the 5 million number of enrollments were increased. Also, almost 1.5 million certificates are given, and the same model, open, cost-free online courses here in openwho.org in health educations and crisis prevention. Another partner comes from industry. So SAP was the first enterprise to establish an own platform, the Open SAP platform, which provides in-house online courses and trainings. Also, this platform is very much used, very popular, more than 5 million enrollments, and there are more platforms run in HPI. And then the idea came in the course of the development of the HPI Schulcloud, which is an infrastructure for German schools that make it easy for teachers and for scholars to use digital technology in the classroom, to go together to an digital media, to look for a video, to exchange tasks and presentations, to communicate with each other, to have a video conference system for virtual classroom and others. But the problem in the crisis was that the teacher have often not a good understanding how this technology can be used. And our idea was to use such a platform like OpenHPI also for teacher education. This platform should provide open content, cost-free for everyone, anytime. It should be usable with any device. A community exchange should be organized through discussion forums and peer groups. The content should be sustainable and scalable, so that many participants can take part in the courses, that they can get certified, then they can make tests and performance records. And this is the platform, lernen.cloud, learning.cloud. Please join us. Look here, we started with 2019 with this platform. Here is a little bit impression of the user interface, and it really helped us to nationwide introduce the HPI Schulcloud. This was this digital infrastructure to push digital transformation of German schools. So there is a quick and instant help whenever it is needed. This is the advantage of such online trainings and education. Before you want to, when you prepare a virtual classroom with a video conference system, you can immediately look how does the system work, what to do to start it, what to do to invite the people to join, how to share content in such a video conferencing. All such type of learnings are provided in Lernen.cloud. Here you see some of the courses. There are the possibility to get certificates and confirmation of participants. Here, this is integrated in the platform, so a teacher can follow a course and can make the self-test, can make the homework, and can get controlled how it is work. And of course, an idea is to introduce this, to integrate these trainings directly into the platform. So here in Schulcloud, there is point Fortbildung, continue education, and there you can or you should reach the Lernen.cloud platform. After 1 year, we have about 22,000 enrollments of teachers from all over Germany. There are already 3,000 certificates completed. So Lernen.cloud provides really chances for bringing teachers' education and teachers' training to any school, to any teacher in any region of the country. And there are challenges. For example, in our federal state, I already mentioned this, there are in each state, states are responsible for schools. So in each state, there are own ideas about the teacher trainings. So our idea is that we provide this platform for all the teachers in German-speaking environment, and then allow the different states to present their own materials, their specific materials, in channels. So in the platform, it is easy to integrate channels. So this is the idea, and to guarantee and assure quality, we included scientific research and UX. We organize a platform for interactions of the teachers. We are in discussion with the teaching institutions and the institutions that are responsible in the different states for the teachers' education to interact with each other, to provide them here a powerful platform, and to make it easy to use this platform, make it easy to access it with every device, to give certificates, and with the hope also to get a common understanding what needs to be done and what is done. So we invite you. Unfortunately, it's only provided German content, but we invite you to have a look, and please come back. We can discuss also with interested partners. We can integrate own channels in the platform, in our platform Lernen.cloud, which provides teacher trainings in time, in place, on a digital way.
So that was really a wonderful video pre-recording from Christopher Manuel from the HPI Institute. Really very, very innovative platform that's allowed for the online accessibility. So I'm going to pose some questions to each of our speakers. So as you know, when we talk about the importance of teacher innovation, obviously we are looking towards the future. And when we look towards the future in relation to the teacher, of course, foremost is how can we best help the child, right? The child as the center of learning. How do we reach to the children who need us most? And how do we empower teachers to help these students so that we can minimize the loss of learning, which many of you have shared how even through the COVID situation, you brought learning through the teachers to the students, right? So I think one of the most important focus of the teacher is the child, especially the vulnerable child. And we know in the latest OECD 2030, the focus of education for the child, especially, is the matter of the children well-being. And of course, at different cities, different economies, different contexts, different places, the challenges are different, and we are all at different stages of development. In some places, there's still a lot of need to ensure accessibility. For others, it has gone beyond accessibility to quality. So I want to ask each of the speakers to say in just one or two sentences, how do we therefore empower, how do we encourage teachers, right, in this situation and in this context, right, to be better equipped, to be able to help and empower the child's well-being and learning? What are some innovative steps that you would like to point out? So maybe I will start with Professor Nelja Costa, because you have done a lot of work on sustainability as well, and a lot of these have impact on people's well-being. So Professor Nelja, please. Yeah. Do unmute, please. Professor Nelja, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you listening to me?
Yes, we hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So very quickly, I would like just to add to my talk lessons learned from the pandemic situation in Portugal. First of all, I would say that from my point of view, there is not time yet to have research then about the consequences of the pandemic situation. This is a problem with the research. Research needs time, and other things have a different time. So we don't know what kind of how this pandemic situation is affected, for example, the teachers' welfare, the learnings of the pupils, if it has or not contributed to increase inequality. So we really need research. But what this pandemic situation has shown is that the teacher professor profession is really, they need to be flexible and learners. Okay, in Portugal, as in other parts of the world, the schools were closed and teachers were faced with many challenges. Some of them, they didn't have ICT competencies, and they quickly had to adjust to a new situation. But this also showed that despite the effort that the teachers do, this is a quite complex situation, because it has to have the support at the macro, meso, and micro level. I mean, teachers in Portugal, they have made a great effort to adapt to non-face-to-face classes, to use technology and so on, but they needed, and they still need, support from the macro level. I mean, policymakers, for example, by legislation, pupils' assessment in a different way, even defining what is the point of continuing to teach pupils classical and universal concepts without talking about the consequence of this pandemic and what the humankind has contributed to it. Teachers this shows that teachers is a profession and teachers need to be flexible. So when we are involved in teacher education, we need to empower this flexibility and they need to be aware that they are learners all their time. Also, the leaders of at the meso level, the leaders of the schools had a very important role. What a teacher does in his or her classroom is not only a matter of him or herself. Leaders, if they are really leaders, and this happened in some schools I heard in Portugal, leaders help a lot with, for example, even with resources, with support teachers, okay? So teachers alone are not able to change. They need macro support, meso support, and micro support as well. Myself as a teacher educator, I have been in contact with teachers and helping them to deal with this for example, the games, what they expect, or what they should expect that their pupils would learn, what is the priorities, learning priorities in this situation. And the last thing is that, unfortunately, this happens, but we continue working, namely in the projects I referred, obviously because we are in a sense privileged. This does not happen in Africa, for example. So we have digital technologies which will enable us to continue with our projects, namely about education for sustainability. And this pandemic has to be with sustainability as well. Why? We cannot discuss this in the classrooms. So I don't know, it's important to empower teachers, making them realize that their profession is a lifelong learning enterprise, that they need to be flexible, but that they need to have the support of others, namely politicians, namely leaders of their schools. I don't know if I answered the question, but this is my contribution.
Thank you so much, Janelza. Thank you for raising all these very important points. Indeed, the teachers now play so many roles, and really the changing roles of the teachers is something we have to acknowledge and also empower. And at the same time, you know, just like the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. It really takes a village to support the teacher, to support the children of our future too. So I will now move to South Africa to Sarah for comments. How do we perhaps empower teachers in some of these ways?
What is important for me to take as a point of departure always is that all teachers have a mental model of children. And it's important to help them to interrogate that model that they have, to understand what are the views of children and how can we help them to look at children in a way that will support those children, particularly in current circumstances. And I'm thinking here about social emotional learning that should also be happening in the classroom. That it is about teaching content, but one is able to infuse in the content that you teach life skills, things that children need to survive in their daily lives, particularly in a very stressful situation. Now, of course, as Nusa also indicated, our teachers also need a lot of support in this. And this, I think, is the catch-22 situation that we have at the moment. The development of teachers also require that they have the emotional resources to be open to development. And at the moment, my sense is in many schools in South Africa, particularly the schools that serve very communities where there are many challenges, the teachers are just trying to survive. Teachers are also just trying on a day-to-day basis to survive the challenges. So they also need social and emotional support. Now, this is not going to happen overnight. My sense is we must realize we are, as we indeed realize, we're living in very difficult times. And the best that we can do is to try and support each other in the best possible way, socially, emotionally, and also taking into consideration, and this brings me back to my talk, in which I said cognition and emotion. They are intertwined.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for highlighting this very, very important aspect of not just the cognition, but also the emotions. In fact, it's something very much part of the 21st century curriculum these days for teacher preparation to ensure that we really pay enough attention on the social emotional development, or even while we talk about technology and things like that, even more so. So Ming-Xuan, maybe about a quick one from you to sum up some of these points about
sum up. But I can talk about something we try to do now. After we let all the children come to schools, then all the families and society said that all the children need to go to school, need to go to good school. 要上好学校. So in this way, we should consider something had already been changed. The first, I think, important is we still should believe all the students, they have the capacity to accomplish the basic education. So this is very important. That means they can learn math, science, and reading. Except those kind of students we call the special needs. Besides that, all the normal students, they can learn. So I think this is a kind of a believing. When the British teachers now, they have the exchange programs with us in the math education. So every year they have more than 100 teachers come to study in Shanghai and invite our teachers to come to England. So they also said the most important things in Shanghai they found is the Shanghai teachers believe the students have the capacity or say potential to learn math. So this is not happened in England before they come. And so the teachers should believe that and have the very high expectation on every child. So this is, I think, most important. The second is all the teachers, every teacher should be encouraged to do their action research to find their children's. Although all the students, they can learn, but the ways, approaches, the styles of learning and the situations maybe are different. So all the teachers, they are not only to be trained as teachers, but they are trained as researchers. So they should try to pay attention to their classroom, their situation, to find students different ways and approaches and styles of learning, even the motions, when the motions will impact on them and influence their learning or those kind of things. So this is the second. The third, all the society, especially the schools and the government, should support. I agree with Professor Costa. So the society, the government should try to encourage the wise young people to be teacher, and encourage their in-service training, encourage their research. So in these days, every year Shanghai try to have a lot of we called research project to let the teachers to apply, to do something as a part of their training. So I think if all the teachers have such kind of chances to do their research and to write something, every district in Shanghai, we have 16 districts. Every district, they have their journal for the teachers to write something and publish. So
thank you. That's great. We must visit Shanghai.
Yes, they can share all what they find. Although something are not very theoretical knowledge, but anyhow, they can express their experiences. So
that's very useful. I think that is really, really good for encouraging the teacher symbolism, the teacher's growth. So I think we have had many ideas.
Yes.
Actually, Professor Christopher Minier also has some comments, but because of time, we will not show the second part of his video of his comments. But I would request from the FWE, the technical people, that if we were to archive some aspect of this workshop and webinar, I hope you could capture the second video of Professor Minier in that. And we now want to pass the time to the Origin, our young leader, to comments. And we all need to learn from the next generation. So over to you, Origin.
Thank you very much, dear Seng. It is really a pleasure and honor to be here and listening to the elders talking and sharing their experiences with what they are going through. And I would like again to thank FWE for giving us a space as young people to give in our ideas and also to be part of the future, because as people say, there is nothing for us without us. So for us being here and being part of this great conversation means a lot. So my name is Origin Giraneza. I'm from Rwanda in Africa. I run a company called Genius Priority, which is into an edutech platform that helps people to access teaching and learning resources and also help them to be equitably distributed across the nation and beyond. So over the previous, most especially last year when the pandemic hit, something that we have learned was how there was a shift regarding on how the teachers were perceiving the online teaching and learning, as well as how they could actually adapt to the disruption that was caused by the pandemic. And through that, we've seen when the school was shut down, some of the teachers, actually the highest portion of the teachers, they spent more than 8 months without practicing their career. Some of them has shifted to other things, which eventually when they were requested to come back to school, it wasn't that easy to, to get integrated. And that's why as a company, we've realized that we had to do something about that. We initiated a new program to train them how to engage and create interactive content to use in a class, and also give them more materials to use in the classroom while they're teaching. And that we've managed to reach over 300 teachers who eventually are impacting more students across the nation. So based on today's conversation, I took a lot of notes and I have to go through some of this because it is really inspiring, starting from where he mentioned something very critical, that the teacher education is a foundation of all required expertise for the progress of individuals in the society. And this means a lot when we look upon how a teacher is the #1 source of inspiration to young people, to the generation, so that they can picture themselves in the future and then be like the guiding torch to some of the areas that them as individuals couldn't take themselves through. So I learned that teachers should be prepared and mandated to develop and nurture required skills in learners for various sectors in economy. And this again reflects the point that was made by Sarah on the 4 C's that she mentioned, and something, if I may extend her case, I would also add in that the skills like intellectual and academic and physical skills will also be needed for this for the learners to scale more than how they can anticipate. So she mentioned something again very critical about the future being unpredictable. And this is something that we have learned through the pandemic situation. And again, on that point, I believe that the teacher education should also be dynamic as well as adaptive and progressive. In that case, we can be assured that the current generation, the generation to come, will have more programs that are tailored to the needs of that period that they will be in. So some of the things that can be done in that regard, they can be like curriculum which are adapted and to broader perspectives as well as inclusive way. We can look at the curriculums that prepare teachers to adapt into emerging challenges as well as disruptions. And another thing that I have also noted, most especially, which was a point that was made by Nilzada Costa and Minjan, was about how some of the resources are not equitably distributed across various places. And this, in that regard, some of my reflection was there is a need to invest adequately into teacher education programs so that they can to develop and use modern facilities and resources in teacher preparation. And another thing was that there is also a need to implement programs that help teachers to realize their personal objectives that has been reflected over and over, and also prepare the quality, like programs that enable them to prepare quality and engaging content to their students and learners, and enable teachers to access resources that empower them to effect.
Sorry, you're muted accidentally, I think. You need to, yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Sorry. So I was saying there is a need to create programs that enable teachers to access resources that empower them to effectively deliver and adopt to modern teaching practices, and also create programs that that brings in a component of inclusive techniques for this in-service and progressive trainings to teachers. And there is again a need to create motivation, most especially to teachers who are at service, and again, motivation to young people to also join teaching as career. There is a need to have to instill in teachers what I could call like growth mindset and attitudes that create that space for them to think beyond how they can empower the learners to be better than how they are today. And then as I wind up, I think there is a need to invest adequately, again, in programs that attract and retain the best brains to the education. Because in most places across the world, you find that the teacher education career is not among the priority options for people to take. And if we want to create a sustainable economy and sustainable future, and even the sustainable teacher education, there is always a need to also attract those great brains to be the #1s to join the career. So much has been said, and I want to wind up from here. Again, I would like to thank very much the FWE for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts about what I learned throughout this session. And I would like also to mention what will happen in the future. In April, that there will be another session like this about organized again by Forum Forward Education, which will majorly focus on the business approaches to preparing employees that has a component of induction, training, and development. And then it will happen on 27th April next month. And we would like to invite everyone, most especially people who are here, to join us again next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So remember, 27th of April. So much ideas, so much thoughts, so much blessings to one another, and so much blessings of resources that we can tap on one another. That's really great. Thank you so much, everybody. Susan, would you like to say something?
I would just add my thanks to yours for people participating in this. And again, you know, so many good ideas expressed by our participants in the discussion and led well by Seng. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you April 27th to see how the business community is approaching these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tang.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.